Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm gonna go through some stocks here with Fintech, kind of tell you what I'm thinking. SoFi, Affirm, Shopify, Square, and PayPal, and a couple others. This is SoFi. I have a position in SoFi, Affirm, and Shopify. I might be building a position in PayPal soon. I don't know. Starting to look a little bit more and more attractive as time goes on. Although I do think that PayPal is going to end up maybe hitting a little bit of resistance here before it goes further because they already made like 20% up move within a month. But SoFi, let's go and talk about it. $8 resistance, sure. I can totally see that. Just looking at the Subiichi cloud here on the monthly, we don't have the Subiichi cloud quite just yet because price hasn't really been around for that long. But if you see that right now, we've just been kind of stuck at this resistance. They've been stuck ever since February 2023 with the Tenkan, with the blue line over here on the Subiichi cloud. Initially, it broke back above, but it just wasn't really able to hold that support, and now it's back in resistance, but really look like we're really pushing, trying to get through the resistance. Right now, the resistance is around 7.69. I'm just going to round it to like 7.7. If it's able to break above that, maybe get to like the $8 range, and if it breaks above that a little bit and come back down and do a little bit back test going up, that would be very bullish for a stock. But I do not think that it's just going to push through $8 right off the bat. I do think that we're going to have a little bit of resistance, around $8 or so, because you did have a bullish crossover here with the Tenkan Kitchen on the regular Ichimoku cloud. But $8 still resistance right around the kitchen, the red line over here, and above that a little bit higher, around 8.3 is also resistance there for the monthly Tenkan. And they might be at a little bit of risk for a little bit of bearish cross here, but I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. We will see what it does. It is at resistance. You also look at the weekly here, you know that it's kind of stuck in a range between the weekly Tenkan and Kijun, and around 7.6, 7.7 is going to be resistance here. Next up is going to be $8. $8 is going to be resistance until proven otherwise. And the only good thing about looking at Ichimoku Cloud here is when it's stuck inside a range here, it basically reclaimed the Tenkan here. And the other thing is the cloud also is a little bit thinner up here, so there is some vulnerability in terms of resistance up above. The cloud's also green, so it's probably not going to serve as very, very good resistance. If it has to push through, it might have a good chance to push through over the next couple months or so. We'll see, right? But that's kind of what I'm seeing here with SoFi, is that resistance, but been resistance for so long that a lot of the supply has probably already been eaten. And so far, one other thing to also look into that is if you look at the weekly, you can see that it's been reclaiming the Bollinger Support Band once again. It's just been oscillating around the Bollinger Support Band on and off, right? But it's reclaiming it again once again. And on top of that, on the monthly, the 20-month moving average is still pointing up, even though it's been serving as resistance for about 5 months here in a row. We've been trying to break above a rising 20-month moving average for about 5 months in a row. That tells me that we actually have a much better chance because it's upsloping for us to break through, maybe do a little back test and go up higher before long, right? A little bit of a trend change here too. You can just see like 20-month moving average has gone from negative sloping to positive sloping, and the Bollinger Band squeezing over here, telling you maybe some potential trend changes to come. I would much prefer price obviously back above the 20, and it still hasn't happened yet. So, I guess if you're a momentum trader, the momentum is still not there, and you're still underneath resistance. But with this stock, I'm going to take it with a little bit of a different approach here. I think just like when I was thinking about Tesla, with Tesla, I'm going to pull up the Tesla chart here if I can find it. Maybe I'll just type it in. With Tesla chart, I really thought that anything under 200 was going to be a good buy. The way that I approach it is really like anything that's really underneath like the 200 range over here, like this over here and this over here, was a good buy period. And to me, I'm basically seeing, I'm using a very, very similar approach here with SoFi. I think that overall, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty decent accumulating zone here as long as price is below $8, which is a little bit of a weird way to kind of think about it, but that's kind of how I think about it. I think that if it's less than $8 is a good deal. If it's over $8, I might slow down my buying, things like that. But it's less than $8. I think it might be a potentially a pretty decent deal here. That's kind of how I approach SoFi. Now, you do have to be cautious. It's underneath resistance, but I do see some positive things going on. And I also do see some positive thing going on with the fintech sector in general, perhaps for Q4. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep DCAing as long as price is less than $8. With Affirm, I also have a position in Affirm. And with Affirm, it's just been a brutal low volume sell off with like a bias strike for about half a year or longer, really for about 8 months. I think this is bottoming up. The reason why I think it's bottoming out is really because you're hitting a pretty important volume shelf over here, and you also have this price going down like 8 months in a row on declining volume. Like, this is not sustainable. Look at when price went up, it went up on huge volume. So going down on low volume is actually like the lower it goes, the better risk reward ratio is going to be. I think Affirm is looking like it's getting ready for like a big move to blow up whenever it wants to, but it's still not happening yet. The 20-month moving average is looking really juicy. The entire move down is basically a low volume back test of a rising 20-month moving average. And so far, you got a big wick over here, so it's got some pretty good support here. So I actually think Affirm's going to do pretty decent moving forward. I actually don't have any problems with continuing the DCA into Affirm, really up to like around $30-$35 range. I'm gonna keep buying every week, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just think that the risk reward ratio here is pretty decent. It's also a pretty important horizontal zone over here too. If I take off the bull in Japan, you can see that it's really just back testing these like horizontal zones over here. And so far it's looking at it's finding support. So I still think that is relatively, pretty decent risk reward ratio, although you keep on having these like wicks above. I mean, today is really only Wednesday, so who knows? But there keeps on having some resistance up above here, but the volume is just getting lower and lower and lower. I just don't see how they can keep pushing price that down for that much longer anymore, because we're at a pretty strong support zone. So that's Affirm. I feel pretty good about this for the next like 12 to 18 months, and I'm not trying to time the bottom or anything like that. It's below a lot of the resistance, so it's probably going to need some time to kind of break back up above on the weekly here. It's finding resistance here at the cloud, which is why it's having a little bit of rejection here. So on the short term, there's no momentum. On the long term, this really looks like a really good, risk reward ratio. On the short term, though, you underneath resistance here, kind of like SoFi, just underneath the tank, the kitchen over here for several months. Have a hard time breaking above. The momentum's not there, but the candle formation, the volume, everything is telling me that's pretty decent. Sorry. So that's Affirm. Look at Shopify. I also have a position in Shopify. I just think the Shopify just went way too far, way too fast from like 25 all the way up to like 90 within a pair. Sorry, within a matter of just about a month and a half, and it just went up to like to test the bottom of the cloud where you got rejected. Came back down, couldn't hold support here at the Tenkan, came back down. So far it's holding support here at the Kijun. And so far it actually break back above the Tenkan. Next natural areas Shopify is going to go is probably going to be back up the cloud to the 90s and challenge the cloud again. Maybe there's a moment of vulnerability here to the cloud that it can go through, or maybe it ends up breaking inside a red cloud here, just kind of bounce around before going through, because red cloud generally could potentially be a little bit stronger resistance there. So Super Cloud tells you that it's already broken above the Super Cloud, so it might end up having more room to go higher. And I think the next natural area is going to go is probably going to re-challenge this top of the wick over here around like the low 90s. That's where I see Shopify is going. You have a katana here on the Super Cloud, which is a promising thing. On the weekly chart, you are running into a little bit of a snag here. I'm not sure it's just going to go straight up here short term because you're hitting a little bit of a snag here on the top of the Ichimoku cloud on declining volume. So you might probably end up getting a little bit sideways, maybe even correction down to the high 80s. I think it's entirely possible before breaking through. But it is what it is. You have a big giant bullish engulfing candle that engulfed like 10 weeks before that, and it had some bullish continuation. Now you're at the next natural area of resistance. If you don't break above resistance, again, maybe like 70 to low 60s, you break above the resistance, you're talking about hitting like 90. So that's kind of your risk reward right there. And yeah, the Sabichi cloud is still stuck inside Sabichi cloud. You have a little bit of bullish cross happening too, so that's promising. It's reclaiming the bull support band. So there's a lot of good things that's happening in Shopify right now. But short-term resistance, declining volume, maybe a little bit more size consolidation before breaking out, or maybe correction proof price. Back test this area over here around like 67, 68 before bullish continuation. Entirely possible. I'll continue to hold. Square is a little bit of a enigma. If I pull up the Bollinger Band here, very similar to SoFi is underneath the 20-month moving average. Is unlike SoFi, is just flat, you know. But I do think there's a good chance of breaking above because it does look like this whole trend change is coming. So I'm still pretty positive on Square. You look at Ichimoku Cloud here on the monthly. You had a bullish cross, but price is underneath, you know, both the Tenkan and Kijun. So we're like really like to see it breaking above and go up higher. We'll see whether or not that happens. Suppeichi is reclaiming the Tenkan. Tenkan has served as pretty decent support so far. So right now I can see that potentially stuck in range. The highest it can go with upper range over here around like 95. And I think that if it ends up beasting, I think 95 is probably going to be a very good area to take profit. If it doesn't end up beasting, because it's still underneath resistance here on the monthly 20-month moving average Bollinger Band, and also underneath the Tenkan Kitchen here in the Ichimoku, then you know it could go down further. But honestly, like I think that this whole sideways move has been going for so long. It already tested the bottom of the local in Japan. I don't think it has to do that again. You know, I think that the next natural thing after trying to challenge the bullish band here for several months in a row would be to go up, especially when other fintech sector stocks like, you know, Shopify and PayPal are doing much better. So I'm still bullish on Square. I don't or Block. I don't have a position, but I'm not bearish on it. Looking at PayPal, I'm going to go straight to PayPal. So what's happening with PayPal? It's forming a base. I absolutely think that the bottom was in back in like the high 40s and like $50 because it bounced from one end of the Bollinger Band on the lower side and bounced to the other side like this is a very cost thing. But this thing basically happened in the dot-com bubble with the Nasdaq, you know. So it's happening with PayPal. Bounced on that, initially got rejected by a negative sloping 20-month moving average, but right now actually is turning flat. And right now price broke back above the 20. This is how bull market starts. This is how bull market starts is when price just kind of get above a flattening 20, maybe even up curling is actually up curling just a little bit, you know. Um, yeah, so this is how a good, strong, sustainable bull market starts, and I'm starting to see this in the PayPal chart. So actually not a bad risk reward ratio if I'm to enter here. The lower it goes, the better. I don't see this really breaking down that much further to the 50s anymore, based on what I'm seeing here on the PayPal chart. I actually think it's a pretty decent chart moving forward. Also looking at the monthly Ichimoku cloud, you really convincingly claim the Tenkan is possibly rising. I do think there's a strong possibility where the price just doesn't get above $77 to close the year because you have the Kijun right up here above that's going to serve as potential resistance. If you look at the Ichimoku, if you zoom in on the weekly here, it did something incredible, which is that it broke above the weekly Ichimoku cloud, which it hasn't really done for ever since like mid to late 2021. It broke above the Ichimoku cloud. It looks like it wants to form a katana. It looks like price wants to go up higher, but it's just maybe a little bit overextended based on the Bollinger Band. So I don't see it just keep shotting up higher. Already made like a 20% move. It probably needs to cool down. Where is it going to cool down? Maybe some of the Tenkan Kijun up here is going to serve as support in the 60s. Maybe it goes all the way back down to 64 around the top of the Ichimoku cloud. I don't see it going that much higher, that much faster. And I do think that by the end of the year, we probably end up closing below or at around $77, which is going to be a pretty strong resistance zone over here. But I am turning more bullish on PayPal. I do think PayPal is going to do pretty well in 2025. Finally, the stock to talk about, which has defied expectations because of the recession talks that have been around and about, is Upstart. I talked about Upstart when I did a live stream with Matt, I think a couple weekends ago, and I was bringing on the attention to Matt that the great Matt Speed, we don't know who I'm talking about. He's a great guy to follow, by the way. I was telling him about how I think that the price has just kind of gone down, but the on-balance volume has been tracing up. There's a lot of bullish divergence. This happened around July through May of 2022, 2023, ended up having a big explosive move upwards, right? With price going down, but the on-balance volume actually tracing upwards, right? And the same thing is happening here, where price kind of going down, but the on-balance volume kind of tracing upwards. Again, like a very nice bullish divergence over here. Sure enough, it worked out pretty well. Do I think price is just going to keep beasting from here? I don't know. I just like the fact that this is a bullish engulfing candle for like a few months in a row. This is a very, very strong breakout. And if you look at like a higher time frame and a lower time frame, I'm a little bit worried because it's outside the upper Bollinger Band for several weeks in a row. It just keeps on like going up. I'm a little bit worried that the trend is a little bit exhausted here on the weekly here, but on the monthly, something incredible has happened. This is more bullish than like a SoFi. This is more bullish than like Affirm. You have the 20-minute moving average finally point up now. It's no longer resistance. You see how the 20-minute moving average is serving as resistance here for such a long time? That's no longer the case. It's flipped that to support, and it kind of essentially back tested it, wicked down underneath of it, found support on increasing volume. This is a bullish stock. This is looking great. I don't have anything bad to say about this stock long term. Short term, yeah. Long term, not so much. Reclaiming the Tenkan over here, getting a little bit rejected here at the kitchens. That's why I'm saying short term, I have a hard time seeing price getting above like 42, 43 in the short term. Probably gonna come back down, back test some stuff in the mid 30s is my best guess. But I just don't feel that bearish on this stock. This is not telling us that recession is going to come anytime soon. It's telling me that maybe this is like a beginning of like a stronger bull market. Maybe they're going to keep printing money or something. I don't know. Just a thought. Whenever you see Bollinger Band expansion, whenever you see the 20 average pointing up, this is a very bullish look on the weekly. The monthly, you don't quite have that, Bollinger Band expansion. If anything, there's a little bit of contraction. But the 20-month is curling up. Like I can't be that bearish on Upstart. So something to think about. If it drops back down, I mean, I'm already like really heavy on fintech with SoFi, Affirm, and Shopify. But PayPal's looking better. Upstart's looking much better. These are just some thoughts. Anyway, not financial advice. Just want to share you some thoughts and what I'm thinking about fintech stocks. I haven't talked about these stocks for a while. So thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.